Welcome to the Aledo Bearcats Coaches Show podcast, a presentation of Rio Country 92.1 Hank FM. Live from Boo Rays of New Orleans and Hudson Oaks, the Aledo Bearcats Coaches Show podcast is brought to you by H5 Sports Barn in Aledo and Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth. And now, with head coach Robby Jones, here's the voice of the Bearcats, Kevin Lonnquist.
It is going to be a give to Guillory. Tries to get to the outside. Breaks a tackle to the 5. Touchdown, Aledo Bearcats! The Bearcats win the game, 48-42.
So there will be nothing to talk about tonight here on the Aledo Coaches Show podcast. And we welcome you to, once again, the Aledo Coaches Show podcast here at Boo Rays of New Orleans, here in Hudson Oaks, celebrating their 20th anniversary. They have other locations in Lake Worth and in Crowley. And, of course, this podcast can be made possible between H5 Sports Barn in Aledo and Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth. Bearcats' final regular season road game is this coming Friday at Azle. It's a 7 o'clock kickoff. Hank FM has the pregame show at 6:30, and the kickoff, of course, again, is at 7 o'clock. The Hornets are 7-1 and 5-1 in District 3-5A. They have clinched the playoff spot, the last one in this district, so all the playoff teams have been decided. That's the Bearcats, Denton Ryan, Richland, and now Azle. Now it's a matter of the seedings to be determined here over these final 2 weeks of the regular season. First segment of our podcast, we will be joined by head coach Robby Jones following this dramatic 49-42 overtime win for the Bearcats over Richland. And in our second segment, we will be joined by two of the standout offensive linemen for the Bearcats. That is senior center Chase Anderson and senior right tackle Cody Cartwright. All right, well, that was fun. To what extent did this game remind you of Denton Ryan, and to what extent did it not remind you of Denton Ryan?
It reminded me a little bit of Denton Ryan, but the one it reminded me of the most was the overtime game that we had here a few years ago in 2019 with Midlothian, because Midlothian came in with their triple option. They were able to control the ball. Richland kind of controlled the ball, especially the first half with their run game. And then we made one mistake in that Midlothian game, but, we gave them an extra possession, right off the bat. They onside kicked. We didn't handle the kick, and then we also had a fumble. And so we contributed to the fact that, they were playing well, and then we were not. And so that contributed to us getting down. But, our kids responded once again. I think the touchdown late in the first half was big, to go – what do we get the ball back with a little
55
over
seconds
55 seconds,
yeah.
And we were able to go execute our hurry-up offense and go get a touchdown, to cut the lead down because we knew they were getting the ball, to start the second half. So, it was kind of reminiscent of that game, the most to me.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think the most impressive thing, just touching on your possession right before the end of the first half, is you navigated about 66 yards without a timeout. You had burned them all, so the way you all were able to get that done. Of course, you got the big chunk play to Caden Finley that got it going there, that helped get that thing moving. But still, the fact that you guys did that without a timeout was pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's something we work every week. So, we want to make sure that we're prepared for those situations, and we get out there and we execute and we move the ball down the field like we did. And that was, like I said, it was probably one of the differences in the game. And I told Coach Williams, right before they went for it on that third down, I said, hey, look, after this third down, I'm going to waste the last time out. I said, you're going to have a little bit under a minute, to go. So get the hurry-up group ready. So, and he did, and he did a really good job of calling plays to get us down there to score.
We'll get into some of the intricacies and obviously the subplots of how this game finished up here in just a few moments. But overall, just based on how everything went about this game, what did you learn about your team in something like this?
These guys are going to fight. There's never going to be a moment where they're going to quit, and there wasn't finger pointing, anything like that. We talked about that, during the Denton Ryan game, that, hey, look, it's nobody, one particular person's fault. We're put ourselves in this situation, and we got to go keep fighting and plugging away and find a way to win the football game, and that's what they did, And so, our guys right now are just finding a way to win the football game.
And you also have some guys that are banged up too. So what's kind of the state of your team health-wise going into this coming game with Azle?
Yeah, we have a few guys that are kind of, banged up a little bit, and some of them will be able to play through those injuries, and others might not be able to. So, we might not be 100% going into this game, but we will have, most of our guys out there and available.
All right. Big win, too, because it gives you the inside track toward hosting a playoff game, provided you beat Azle or Denton. Obviously, if you get them both, then you're good. But if you get at least one of those last two, it looks like you all, because of the tiebreakers, and we'll get to the tiebreaker here in a moment and what that meant in the overtime. But having said that, that really set you all up to do that so you could host. And I know you all like to play your by-district game on a Thursday if you can make it work, but it was big for that reason too.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big thing. We wanted to make sure that we were going to get that first-round playoff game at home. And if we had lost that game last week, that was not going to be the case, because we would have more than likely ended up in a three-way tie with Denton Ryan and Richland. And based on our tiebreaker situation, it was going to be Denton Ryan as the number 1 seed. And then the 2-3 seed was based on head-to-head, which meant that Richland beat us to put us in that situation. So we would have had to go to a Fort Worth school probably and played either Harrington Heights or Pascal at Farrington Field.
Okay. Now, you talked with Hayden. We're going to get into these nuts and bolts of this game now. But so you talked with our substitute sideline reporter Hayden Howerton at the half about the gap integrity issues where Richland quarterback Drew Cates was successful in those gaps. What did you see on film, though, breaking it down Saturday and maybe Sunday with your coaches, where some of the major issues were there?
Yeah, and it wasn't always the same guy. So it wasn't like it was one guy out there. So, we had a guy who might have been lined up in a 3 technique, and he's supposed to take care of B gap. And for some reason, he thought the ball was going inside, and he jumps inside, and then the quarterback just goes where he just vacated. So, we had to make sure that we were staying in our gap, and we weren't trying to, go into someone else's gap to make a play. And that's kind of what was happening. They were trying to make plays, which we like for them to make plays, but at the same time, when you vacate your gap, it gives them opportunity to exploit that, and they did a really good job of doing that, and taking what we were giving them, and it was grinded out, type of situation, and then we also had some miscommunications that we also got corrected. So,
but your defense did bow up second half. You did force 3 turnovers. Ben McElroy with the key interception that led to the go-ahead touchdown. What do you think changed, basically, for about the last quarter and a half?
The fact that everybody was taking care of their job. That's what we talked about at halftime: is do your job, and do your job better than anybody else could possibly do your job, and things are going to work out for us. And everybody did that. They were a little more focused. We had some time off, the week before, and so that kind of lagged into, this week, and and then we had some other things going on that were a distraction to us, and then coming out of that, so we weren't totally focused on the game all week, and I think that played a big role in it. We didn't come out playing as good as we possibly could, and I think the kids, made sure, when we were in halftime, hey, we're not going to lose this football game. We got to get things right, and let's get going. And then they did that. Okay,
so let's talk about the final moments of this game. You guys are up 42-35. Richland is able to score on a 4th down, right about a 30-yard pass, I think it was, with about a minute 2 seconds to go. Brings them to within 42-41. We were saying during the broadcast, because I've known Jed Cates, Richland's head coach, for 30-some-odd years, and I said, I looked at Kyle and I said, if they score here, I have this really sneaking suspicion they're going to go for 2. And then I chatted with Jed over the weekend, and he said that was their plan, that they were going to go for 2, but they didn't, and they called a timeout, but they didn't like what they saw or their plays that they were being discussed. And so that's why they opted to kick the extra point. But from your perspective, in the real-time moment there, you felt like they were going to go for 2. So how are you guys going to try to defend that and just anticipate what you thought they might do?
I mean, we were definitely thinking they were going to go for 2. You're coming in as an underdog, trying to break a 124-game win streak as far as district is concerned, and so you just think, hey, there's no way they're going to kick the extra point here if they score. And when we got them to that 4th down, I was like, okay, we got this. But then we had the blown coverage,
right,
and they were able to get the tying touchdown, but we were going to go out there. We were going to bring a lot of pressure and try to get to them. If they were going to try to throw the ball, we were going to try to get to the quarterback, and then of course we were trying to get penetration to stop the run. But luckily it didn't come down to that.
Yeah, for sure. Now let's talk about the overtime, because it was kind of a weird scenario there when Richland had the ball. It looked like they got a first down at your 5-yard line, but then it wasn't. There was a weird signal from the side judge there on the far side of the field on that pass play, and then because everybody and my crew and a lot of people felt like, oh, we got the first down. And then we look up, and it's still second down and short, and then they get stuck. Then Hunter Moreno gets stuffed back, and then it puts it in. That was the second down play, and then Moreno gets pushed back on the third and short, and then they throw it incomplete. What kind of thinking goes into for your staff in a sequence like that when they're short and they want to try, and they obviously have to try and score? So, any thoughts about thinking if Cates was going to run that, or if they were going to give that to Moreno on that third down play?
We weren't real sure what they were going to do. What they did try to do was they tried to run their freeze play. They tried to get us to jump off sides. And our linebacker did step forward, but he did not cross the line. I actually had an official that was there that wasn't officiating the game, and I said, man, did we get close to jumping off sides? He said, no, y'all weren't off sides at all. But their center, that's what they're trained up on. That is, if you get the opposite, the opposing team to jump, then you snap the ball, you got a free play, and you throw it into the end zone. So that's what they did.
Right.
They were running their freeze play, and then I'm sure, if they didn't get us to jump off sides, then they were going to check into a play. But, luckily for us, they thought we were off sides, which we weren't, and they threw the ball out of bounds on fourth down.
Yeah, and that was pretty good pressure from you guys, too, because there really wasn't an opportunity for Cates to try and find his receiver there on the far side of the field.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing. We're bringing pressure right there, just like we had done the play before. The play before where they were third and one, we brought pressure, and Ben got in the backfield, made the play, dropped them for a loss. And so we were figuring they were going to do something similar, or try to throw the ball. So we wanted to get in the backfield and not give him any time to do anything.
And your possession in the overtime, this was the Ray Guillory show, all Ray all the time. Was that kind of the idea? Just feed it to him and see what he can do with it?
Yeah, that was the idea. Let's roll with this guy. He's been hot all game. Let's give him an opportunity to go and churn up some first downs and get in the end zone. Not take a chance of throwing an interception.
Right, and then the chaos, of course, after he scores to give you all the win. There's all the shaking hands, then everyone's streaming out on the field, and then they got to pull everybody off because they have to have you guys kick the point, which I think nobody thought that was going to happen, but there's an explanation why.
Yeah, it didn't even occur to me, but then the officials came up and said, hey, for tiebreaker purposes, we got to kick the extra point. And I said, yes, sir, we do. I said, because if, something bad happens next week and we end up in a tiebreaker, we have to have these points, point differential. So we went over, got Coach Cates, and he went and got his defense and his defense out there, and we got our extra point team out there, and then we got to do the handshake line all over again.
So twice the fun with the handshake line. Yeah, we actually had gone to break because we were trying to get ready for the postgame show, and that took a couple of minutes to even get that sorted out to get everybody off the field so they could run this quick play and that
right,
sort of thing.
Because you had to get everybody off the field and then get your extra point team out there and get them going.
And then you had to get your time clock, your play clock, of course, that sort of thing. Real quickly, it wasn't shown to us, but it looked like you all had won the toss, and then you deferred your choice in the overtime. Or explain what happened on the flip.
Okay, so when you go into overtime, you get the choice of playing offense, defense, or choosing the end of the field. Well, when you win the toss, you want to play defense so that you know what you have to do. So if the other team scores a touchdown, hey, I got to score a touchdown. Or if they kick the field goal, you're like, okay, we can win this with a touchdown. Or in a situation like what happened for us, we can go score with a touchdown. Or if we get to a fourth down situation, we got a real easy chip shot field goal, we can just kick the field goal and win the game.
Okay, now let's talk a little bit about Ray. This is a career night for him, 34 carries, 244 yards, 5 touchdowns, all career highs. And for as little work that he's had in a lot of these games this year, like 5 touches the week or 2 weeks prior against Granbury, these are the things that we talk about. We talked about this with him last week about, there's going to come a game or two where you're going to need him to grind it out, and this was that one. What did you see from him that night?
It's just he's a competitor. He's going to go out there and compete. He's not going to tap out of a game like that. Even if he is tired, he's going to get out there and get after it, which he did. So it was good to see him do that, and that's the same thing with a lot of our guys. Our guys are going to compete. There's no quitting anybody on our football team. So, he just went out there and did what he needed to do to help us win the football game, and he was wanting the ball.
Yeah.
And his daddy was behind me yelling, give him the football.
But I would imagine, too, because he's so much bigger, just physically bigger, that strength is such an X factor, and it also leads to better endurance, too.
Yeah, he's done a good job getting his body ready, to pound it, 34 times in a game. Then he also had 2 or 3 receptions and a touchdown receiving. So, he was a big part of our offense. But, Gavin also did a really good job of distributing the ball with our receivers. And, of course, Caden had a really big game, had the highlight one-handed catch. On the 1 yard
unbelievable
line.
how he caught that ball.
I might have ruined you talking about that.
No. We are going to talk about him. But, I was going to ask you about that. Not only the great play, because he was heavily involved. 10 catches, 170 yards, the big 54-yard touchdown reception. The one right before, I'm going to tell you all this right up front. Right before that, we had just talked about how the Bearcats probably need to use more of their intermediate passing game. And, of course, right after that, boom, right off. So that shows you how much we know. But anyway, he had the highest in the highs and the lowest of the lows. He had the one-handed catch, the touchdown pass. Then he had to bounce back from the fumble where he got it stripped at the 6. But that's what the good ones do. They find a way to try and equalize the emotions of the highs and the lows, and they still keep playing. And that's what I thought I saw from Caden Finley.
Yeah, that dude's going to get out there. Like I said about Ray, he's going to compete. He wants to win. He's a winner, and he's going to go do whatever he can to win the football game for us. And that's what he did. He went out there and just made play after play after play. He did have the one mistake, and he came over and apologized. I said, that happens, dude. You don't have to apologize. I said, just go out and make another play. And he did, man. And that one-handed catch, I didn't know he caught the ball.
Neither did I until the officials came up and signaled catch, and so.
Yeah, and then I saw somebody posted a little video from the end zone, and you can see him make that one-handed catch. And I'm like, man, that's special right there. Not a whole lot of people can do that.
Yeah, freakish is the term they like to use about plays like that. Yeah. So let's turn to the Azle Hornets. So much different from last year, because last year's game over there in Azle, it was a pretty rough go. Their offense was so anemic. They didn't have a lot of playmakers, but this year a little bit different, better skill players for sure. What jumps out at you?
They were young last year. They got, I think, just about everybody back on their offense. I know when I was going through redoing my, sheet that I do with their starters and all that, there was only one offensive lineman that I had to change. But, yeah, they've done a really good job. They do a really good job of coaching those kids. Coach Doris is a really good coach. And he's got Coach Chad Jones over there running his offense. And Jones was at Boswell when we had some battles with Boswell, if you remember.
Oh,
those.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. So he's calling the plays over there. And those guys, they do a really good job. And they did a good job of kind of turning that group around, because I don't know what their record was last year, but it wasn't.
I think they were 3-7.
3-7, yeah.
Yeah.
So look at what they've done, with basically the same kids. So they're doing a really good job over there, and we got to go over there and we got to treat them with a lot of respect, and go over there and handle up business and do what we can do, and they can throw the football around, and then their running back, same guy they had last year, they can run with it. And then defensively, the thing that kind of stood out is Devin, is a defensive guy. He was a defensive coordinator for forever, and so he's kind of got his hand on the defense. So they've changed up a little bit. They're not as vanilla with the 3-2 like they've been in the past. So he's mixing up the fronts and things like that, which I think has helped them a little bit.
Let's focus individually on a couple of these skilled players for Azle. Their quarterback, Derek Val, has thrown for 1,822 yards, 18 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. And as you mentioned, their running back, Hagan Hughes, he's already at 1,349 yards and scored 7 touchdowns, averaging 9 yards per carry. So just looking at those two, what's the things that jump out at you?
Very hard runner. The Hughes kid's very hard runner. And then when he gets in the open field, he can break a long one, which he's done quite a bit, watching on video. And then, the quarterback has, lots of different guys that he throws the ball to. They run a 4-wide offense, and he does a really good job of distributing the ball equally to everybody, and it's just a lot of screen game, a lot of, takes the our defensive line out of it, because it's quick, it's out wide, and so they get it out there and they get blockers on your linebacker and your secondary guys, and you got to make some one-on-one plays out there. So those are some of the things that kind of stick out.
Okay, and to your point, they have 4 different receivers with at least 20 catches this year, so that's going to be a lot of plays in space, kind of like what Richland was attempting to do, and of course what you saw with Denton Ryan a few weeks prior. And so just how do you feel like, based on the things that you're dealing with this week with some of the kids that are banged up and things like that, how do you go through a week like this as you're getting ready for Azle?
I told some young guys, I said, look, you may not have gotten a lot of opportunities, so far this year, and you've been wanting some opportunities. Here's your chance. Here's your chance to go and show that, hey, look, Coach, you can count on me to go out and step up and make plays for you as well. So that's, kind of what we've been discussing this morning. And then, we just got to get out there and go play Aledo Bearcat football.
All right, Coach. Well, we'll look forward to it. Again, the Bearcats at Azle, 6:30, the pregame show on Hank FM. The kickoff is at 7 o'clock, and we'll look forward to seeing the Bearcats and the Hornets. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
On the other side of this break, we'll have our two offensive linemen and Cody Cartwright and Chase Anderson. But first, we want to remind you that this podcast is brought to you by H5 Sports Barn in Aledo. At H5 Sports Barn and Knife Physio and Performance can help unlock your athletic potential and elevate your game like the Aledo Bearcats. With expert sports physical therapy, tailored recovery plans, and top-notch sports performance training, H5 Sports Barn, proud supporters of the Aledo Bearcats. And Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth. Looking for a new ride? Well, Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth has you covered. Right now, get $3,500 off MSRP or 0% interest for 36 months on the 5-star safety-rated CX-5 and CX-30. Hurry in. These offers won't last long. Experience top-notch service and unbeatable deals in their new state-of-the-art facility in Fort Worth, or check out the extensive Mazda lineup at HileyMazdaofFortWorth.com. Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth, a family-owned and operated business for more than 30 years. Again, on the other side of this break, we will have Chase Anderson and Cody Cartwright. Stick around. The podcast continues after this timeout.
Wildcat formation for Ray Guillory. And he will follow the right side, and he will get into the end zone. Touchdown, Aledo Bearcats.
Well, that was one of the 5 rushing touchdowns that Ray Guillory scored. That was the one that gave the Bearcats the lead with about 3.5 minutes to go in the game, 42-35. We welcome you back to the Aledo Coaches Show podcast here at Boo Rays of New Orleans in Hudson Oaks. Kevin Lonnquist here. We're going to be joined by Cody Cartwright and Chase Anderson in just a few moments. But first, we always like to get you caught up in this part of the podcast with the Aledo alumni segment. And just past Saturday over at Amon Carter Stadium in Fort Worth, TCU and Texas Tech got together. A couple of former Bearcats on each side of the field were in this game. More importantly, where I should say specifically speaking, Hoss Haney and Jason Llewellyn. That was a great football game that TCU rallied to win 35-34. The difference in the game, Texas Tech missed an extra point and a short field goal. But I want to point out to you that if you go to the Aledo Coaches Show, or Aledo Coaches Twitter account at Aledo HFC, there's a great picture between Hoss and Jason Llewellyn following the conclusion of that game, where they're standing side by side in their respective uniforms. So just again, go check out that Twitter account at Aledo HFC for the picture that was taken on Saturday afternoon between Hoss Haney and Jason Llewellyn. Llewellyn did get into that game and played a few snaps. Hoss did not, but Hoss, again, is coming back from that ankle injury, but has been able to get on the field a little bit during the course of the 2024 campaign. Okay, we are joined now by 2 signature members of this offensive line. To my far left is Cody Cartwright, and to my immediate left is Chase Anderson. Guys, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. All right, so that was fun on Friday night. When you go through a game like that, that's very stressful, and you're down big, what's kind of the mindset of not, if you will, not leaning over your skis, and that you kind of make sure that you stay focused in on play to play? What's the challenge of that? We'll start with you, Cody.
Yeah, the mindset is just to like we've been there before. We've been through the big moments, and we work hard every day in off season and at practice. And it's to lean back on like what we've been taught and rely on like the little things, as our coach always says, and just keep pursuing till we get the win, and don't give up.
Okay. Is it a matter, Chase, for you where you guys, you know the score per se, but you can't play the scoreboard? You have to keep playing play to play. How do you see that?
No, I mean, I think that's right. We just got to work on doing our job. We got to the defense. I mean, we're leaning on them to do their job, but they're also leaning on us to do our job. But it's our job to just answer back, put points on the board.
I would think too that in playing 2 games like this with Ryan back on 3 weeks ago, and then of course this past Friday against Richland, where you're down multiple scores, 19 points at one point against Ryan, 27-8. And then, of course, the Richland, twice you guys were down by 14 points. What does that do for a team knowing that you've been through these battles? Because you might run into a playoff game where you could run into the same situation there. How do you see that? I'll start with you on this, Chase.
I mean, we can't let the scoreboard define us. We just got to go out and execute our plays, and we got to do what we know know how to play Bearcat football. I mean, we just got to work on correcting the mistakes, just going out and doing our job.
All right, and then for you, Cody, how do you see that?
And keep relying on the coaching that we got. And, like, with the Denton Ryan game, like, we were behind, but we came out of halftime like we weren't behind. Like, it was a whole new ball game, and we just knew we were going to come out there and win. And with this game, I think we knew we should have been further ahead than we were, and we might have been a little slower because of the bye week and stuff like that. And we just came out and really put it all together. I feel like the second half was a lot better, and we just kept relying on our coaching and kept playing hard.
What's the biggest lesson you took from a game like this? I'll start with you on this, Cody.
To not get too low, like just to know we know what to do, perform at our best, and don't think about the scoreboard. Just keep playing football until the time's done. And
then for you, Chase.
No, I think Cody's right on this one. I think we just gotta just take it step by step and not let the other team define like what our capability of. Yeah, I mean, I just think that we need to take it step by step and just keep executing. And like you said, not get too low. I mean, we just got to stay up. We can't keep our heads down. We got to keep them straightforward and just fight and battle back.
There were so many ups and downs in this game. You know, we talked about the Finley fumble. Of course, there were 2 fumbles there. Of course, you know, the unfortunate fumble for Lincoln Tubbs at the 38, and then, of course, Caden's fumble at the 6. And so when you guys go through those troughs, if you will, what's the mindset of trying to get back and just trying to put that behind you as quickly as you can mentally? I'll start with you on this, Cody.
Yeah, when that happened, it's just kind of like a little bit of a blow. But then, you know, we've got an outstanding defense that's going to go out there and give it their best shot. And 90% of the time, I think they're going to make that stop. And then we just got to get back out there and buckle down and get the ball in the end zone.
Okay, and then we go to the ultimate high. You get the McElroy interception on their side of the field around their 43-yard line. You're able to take that down and score. What was the immediate charge and just after that pick by Ben? What was that side? Because I saw the sideline went ballistic on that play. But what's then, okay, after the quick celebration, then what's the mindset of, all right, we have an opportunity. Let's take advantage of it. And I'll start with you on this, Cody.
Okay. Yeah, when that happened, we were all watching it, and we were like, oh, we need something big. And then that happened, and we all had like a quick rush of energy, and then we just knew we had to strap up, and we had to score. We had to get it in.
All right, and then Chase, for you?
I mean, yeah, it's a exciting event in that game, and it just turned the game around. And you know, we talked to ourselves. We can't get too high. We got to just stay focused on what we're here to do, and that's what allowed us to get in the end zone and tie this game up.
Well, you blocked for a guy who rushed for over 240 yards, 244 yards, 5 touchdowns. You ever seen anything like that before? I'll start with you on this, Chase.
I have not. I mean, Ray's a great player. He's great at his job. I think he's able to hit those holes that we make for him and take it to the house. I mean, it's what really it's a game changer for us on the offense.
Now, he can go anywhere on this, Cody, but, of course, on the one where you all took the lead, it came on your side of the field on the 1-yard plunge out of the Wildcat. Is there a little bit more of an oomph when a play, and it doesn't even have to be Ray. It could be Caden Wingfield or anybody else or Brady Powell or somebody like that. But when somebody hits a big play on your side, you're kind of stuck in the middle since you are in the middle. But when it happens on your side, is there a little bit more of an energizing feeling because you made the block that opened the hole or something like that? Cody?
Yeah, it makes you feel good. You know, you got some good film from it, and it's just awesome blocking for him because you know if you just get the biggest foot of diameter or whatever, and they'll just go straight through it, and you're getting at least 5 yards.
Mm-hmm. And then for you, I mean, obviously, now you guys in the overtime, we'll get to the overtime here in just a few moments, but just watching him identify creases, I'm talking about Ray, of course, what did you see just the way he was handling the night? Because biggest night of his career, 34 carries to go along with his 244 and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, just if the hole collapses, he's just great at bouncing it outside and just fighting for extra yards. I mean, I think O-line, we're working on just the little things that we got to do to get play side and just drive him forward so we can create bigger holes for him to just take it up his game and take it even farther.
Okay, so let's talk about the overtime. This was all him. You guys get the ball at the 25-yard line, and you guys were just going to run. He's going to run right behind you. So what's kind of the mindset, and what was the talk before you guys went out there for that possession? We'll start with you on this, Cody.
Yeah, Coach Wheeler told us that we're just going to buckle down and do what we always do and run our stretch and zone. And I believe we just ran a ton of zone during that. And we knew if we could just open those gaps, he'd hit it, and we're getting yards. And that's what we did. We just got play side, like Chase said, and did everything we were taught.
Okay, and you had like a 3rd and 3 at their 8 when Ray scored. Now, that was opposite on your side because it went to the left. But I'll start with you on this, Chase. What did you see? And where was that play? Because it looked like he kind of bounced it a little bit. But let's take us through what you saw on the game-winning touchdown run.
I mean, on the game-winning touchdown, we're running 67 stretch, and my job is just to take the nose and try to get play side and just wall them off. But to see Ray just bounce it outside and our left side do their job to open that hole and allow him to score that ending touchdown, it's truly just amazing what our O-line can do. I mean, it shows that Ray, he can hit those holes when he needs to, and just allows us to just do our job.
And Cody, it's interesting because I always like to get the player who's on the opposite side of the play. And how you're saying that. I mean, because you still have a job to do, because you never know. The whole thing could collapse and it might have to come to your side. So you still have to kind of buckle down and do your job. So take us through from the right side of what you're attempting to do there, even though it's going the other way.
Yes, sir. So there's a couple different options. I mean, I could have cut the guy, or what I did, I crossed his face, I got inside of him and walled him off. And I knew if that left side didn't work out, which it rarely doesn't. They're so good over there.
Yeah.
I knew that he'd at least have hopefully some space to cut back and at least get in. So my back was kind of to him, but when I turned around, he was in the end zone, and we won.
Exactly. Now, it was all kind of great, and then was it kind of confusing there for a moment where they had to make you guys go out there and kick the extra point? What was your reaction when they made you guys go out there, Chase?
My reaction, I mean, I was like, heck, we just won one of our biggest games of the season. But like I said, coming down to tiebreakers, it's important that we gotta do what we gotta do, and so we can get first place in district.
All right, and then were you kind of shocked, or like, hey guys, we still got to kick the point here on this?
I didn't even know. I had no clue. I was coming off. I was throwing my hands up. I was so fired up, and I was already halfway through the line, and then we had to go kick.
Did you guys have your helmets, or did you have to go get them, or anything like that?
I still had mine on, thankfully.
Okay, good for that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this challenge with Azle. Again, a far different team than what you know what, before I do that, I want to ask you about this line coming together, because there's so many new faces. It was everything coming together. What do you think has changed from the opener against Denton Geyer up there in Denton to where you guys were through Richland last Friday? I'll start with you on this, Chase.
I mean, our line's changed a bit, but we've had some injuries, but they're fighting through it, and I think we're just all individually working on what we need to do to just have the same energy to do the same job and do it at a high intensity.
Okay, and then Cody?
Yeah, all of us, we work really hard in the weight room and in practice, and we've got a great coach that holds us to a standard. And if we're not to that standard, he'll let us know, which is a great thing. And going through the injuries, there's been some ups and downs, but I feel like we've really just come together and we've kind of formed a bond to where we just know what the play is going to do, and we know that we can trust the guy beside us to make their play too.
Yeah, and Ryan Thompson has had to kind of move around a little bit too, because with Omari going down against Fossil Ridge, that's kind of caused some shifting here. But the value of guys knowing, and I've talked about this too, about guys having to knowing how to play all 5 positions. Can you talk about the value of what that means? And I'll start with you on this, Chase.
I mean, being able to play different positions, it really just shows that any of us can play any position on the line, and just be able to execute the job that each position has. And I think that just practicing these different positions just really shows that anyone can do anything on the line, and just shows that with injuries, they can just replace anyone with just truly any backup that's just has that high intensity to play.
For sure. And then Cody?
Yeah, with knowing how to play the other positions, it really lets you understand how the play is supposed to go. So if you do have to bump to guard or to the other side, you know what to do and you can do it, and there's no pause. You just pick up and keep going.
Yeah, and then for guys like Aiden Bristow, I mean, it's important for him too, because maybe they're not going to get as many snaps, but it's important for them to do that, though, I would suspect.
I mean, yeah, Aiden Bristow, he's a great player. He's played tackle for us in many games. He knows how to play both sides on each tackle in the tackle position. It just showed he really has a high intensity. He knows how to play the game, and he he just plays it. He does his job really well.
Okay, so we'll turn to Azle. Now we'll turn to Azle with the Hornets here. They're in the playoffs. Kind of a weird game because both teams are in the playoffs, so this is obviously about positioning and that sort of thing. But when you look at the Hornets on film defensively, Cody, what stands out to you?
From last year, they're a lot better D-line wise. Their whole defense is. They've got a few big guys, and they're just a lot faster. Mm-hmm. So I feel like it's going to be more of a challenge than it has been ever playing them. But I still think we'll be able to handle it pretty good.
And then for you, Chase?
Yeah, I mean they got some solid dudes up front. Their nose guard, probably their best player, 6'4", 290. We're gonna have to really execute our double teams to get him moved past the line of scrimmage and work up to our linebackers. Okay,
and then finally, for you guys, just where do you think this line can get better? Where's the, coaches will always stress improvement. There's always going to be that, as you talked about, getting to a standard, and you'll never, ever reach that, because if you do reach it at this point of the season, then it's like, then you've plateaued, and then you're going to start going down. So where can this line get better? Where do you think, Cody?
I feel like a spot that we struggled with a little bit was our pass blocking just for a little while. And we really worked really hard at that at practice, and we've already improved a lot, I think, during that overtime when we were throwing the ball. I thought our pockets were really good, and we gave him a good amount of time so he can sit back there and do what he does and get it to our skill players.
So speaking of Gavin Beard, obviously, and then for you, Chase?
I think the thing we all need to work on, I think we just need to work on the little mistakes and just communicating better. It just allows us to come together and bond, just to make sure we execute these plays right and just know that we did our job at the highest intensity that we can play our job.
All right, we'll look forward to it this coming Friday night in the other side of Parker County against the Azle Hornets. To my immediate left is Chase Anderson, the center, and to my far left is the right tackle, Cody Cartwright. Folks, give it up for these two young men. And, of course, we want to close this podcast with our Aledo sponsor mentions. The Aledo podcast is brought to you by H5 Sports Barn. H5 Sports Barn and Knife Physio and Performance can help unlock your athletic potential and elevate your game like the Aledo Bearcats. With expert sports physical therapy, tailored recovery plans, and top-notch sports performance training, H5 Sports Barn, proud supporters of the Aledo Bearcats. And by Hiley Mazda. Looking for a new ride? Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth has you covered. Right now, get $3,500 off MSRP or 0% interest for 36 months on the 5-star safety-rated CX-5 and CX-30. Hurry in, these offers won't last long. Experience top-notch service and unbeatable deals in their new state-of-the-art facility in Fort Worth, or check out their extensive Mazda lineup at HileyMazdaOfFortWorth.com. Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth, family-owned and operated for more than 30 years. Don't forget the Bearcats and the Azle Hornets this coming Friday night over in Azle, over at Hornets Stadium, where we will have the pregame show on Hank FM at 6:30. The kickoff is at 7 o'clock, and then we will be back here next Monday night to preview the regular season finale when the Bearcats will be playing host to the Denton High Broncos. And it should be a pretty star-studded, packed podcast, because both the girls and boys cross-country teams are running at the state meet this coming Saturday at Old Settlers Park and Round Rock. Of course, if you didn't hear, the girls cross-country team won the Region 1 championship last week in Lubbock. The boys finished third. So they're going to try and we'll have them both. We'll have members of both teams on. Of course, Steve Pinkerton will be joining us as well. And don't forget, the volleyball team is trying to wrap up a perfect regular season, playing on the road Tuesday night. We're recording this on Monday night, but they're playing Tuesday night at Saginaw Chisholm Trail, trying to finish up a perfect, undefeated regular season. Then their playoffs will start next week, and of course we'll have Claire Gay on at some point during the course of November to either talk about the end of the season or as they're moving forward in the playoffs. So for Robby Jones, who was with us in the first segment, and for Cody Cartwright and Chase Anderson, I'm Kevin Lonnquist. Thank you for joining us here for the Aledo Coaches Show podcast. We will talk to you all next week. So long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Aledo Coaches Show podcast, brought to you by H5 Sports Barn in Aledo and Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth, with Bearcats head coach Robby Jones and the voice of the Bearcats, Kevin Lonnquist. Please like and subscribe to this podcast and tell a friend. You're also welcome to join us every Monday night at 7 from Blue Rays of New Orleans in Hudson Oaks. And then listen to every Aledo Bearcats game, home and away, live on Real Country 92.1 Hank FM, on the free 92.1 Hank FM app, or online at 921hankfm.com.